Have you ever sat down at 8 p.m. just to check one thing on your phone, and suddenly it's 9:30 p.m., your neck hurts, and you can't remember a single thing you just looked at? We call that the time leak. It feels like your day has a hole in the bottom, and your life is just draining out while you watch. Today, we're plugging those leaks. We're moving from being busy to being intentional. Welcome to the show. Hello and welcome back to the English Speak Nest podcast. I'm your host, Emma, and I am joined today by our resident productivity expert and my good friend, Alex. We are so glad you're tuning in today. This isn't just a podcast for English learners. It's a space for anyone who feels like the clock is moving faster than they are.
Thanks, Emma. It's great to be back. And you're right. Today isn't about hacks or hustle culture. It's about value. We're talking about the philosophy of time and how to stop throwing it away.
Exactly. So grab your coffee or maybe put us on while you're doing the dishes. And let's dive into how to stop wasting your time and start investing it. Alex, let's start with a hard truth. We all say we want to learn a new skill, get fit, or master a language. But we also say, I just don't have the time. Is that actually true?
Honestly, Emma, usually it's a lie we tell ourselves to feel better. If you look at your screen time report on your phone, you usually find the missing hour. But let's define this properly. What does wasting time actually mean to you?
Yeah, what does wasting time actually mean to you? To me, wasting time is engaging in an activity that yields zero ROI, return on investment. It's when you spend energy and get nothing back. No joy, no knowledge, no rest, just emptiness.
Spot on. I like to use the sand and stones metaphor. Imagine your day is a glass jar. If you fill it with sand, small, meaningless tasks, mindless scrolling, worrying, there's no room for the big stones, which are your goals and your health. But if you put the stones in first, the sand can fill the gaps around them. Most people fill the jar with sand first and wonder why the stones won't fit.
That's a powerful image. I've definitely had sand days. Yesterday, I meant to read a chapter of my book. Instead, I spent 40 minutes looking at interior design photos for a house I don't even own yet. We've all been there. That's a time thief. It sneaks in, takes your focus, and leaves you feeling more tired than when you started. So, how do we stop the thieves? You mentioned something earlier about a GPS. Explain that.
Right. Tip number 1, set a nano goal. Think of your brain like a GPS. If you get in your car and just say, I want to go somewhere beautiful, the GPS can't help you. You'll drive in circles, waste gas, and end up frustrated. But if you type in a specific street address, it gives you a turn-by-turn map.
So saying, I want to be better at English is like saying, I want to go somewhere beautiful?
Exactly. It's too vague. Your brain doesn't know where to start, so it chooses the easiest path, doing nothing. Instead, give it an address. Today's address? I will listen to 5 minutes of a podcast and write down 2 new adjectives.
I love that. It makes the task feel bite-sized. I remember when I wanted to start running. I told myself I'd run 5 kilometers every day. I lasted 2 days. Then I changed the goal to, I will put on my running shoes and walk for 10 minutes. Because the goal was so small, I couldn't say no to it. 5 years later, I'm running marathons.
That's the small wins cycle. Success breeds success. When you hit a tiny goal, your brain gets a hit of dopamine. You feel like a winner. When you set a goal that's too big and you fail, you feel like a loser, and you're more likely to waste time tomorrow to escape that feeling.
That leads us perfectly into the second strategy. I call this harvesting pocket time.
Tell me more. What's in your pockets, Emma?
Not actual pockets. Think of your day as a series of gaps. The 5 minutes waiting for the microwave, the 10 minutes on the train, the 3 minutes waiting for a meeting to start. We usually trash this time by checking news or social media.
So instead of trashing it, we harvest it?
Precisely.
If you have 5 pocket moments of 10 minutes each, that's nearly an hour a day. In a year, that's 365 hours. You could learn a whole language or a new profession in 365 hours.
I have a client, Michael. He's a busy lawyer, father of 3. He told me he had 0 time to read. We looked at his pocket time. He realized he spent 15 minutes every morning waiting for his coffee to brew and his kids to get dressed. He started keeping a book on the kitchen counter. Now, he reads 2 books a month just in coffee time. It's about being prepared. If you don't have your investment ready, like an English app open or a book nearby, you will default to the
You change the environment or the reward. For example, when I have to do my taxes, which I hate, I go to my favorite cafe, get a special pastry I only have once a year, and I set a timer. Can I finish the section before the timer hits 20 minutes?
It's like a challenge. I do something similar with English vocabulary. I try to use a word of the day in a conversation with a friend without them noticing I'm doing it. If I can slip flabbergasted or resilient into a chat naturally, I win.
That's brilliant. It turns a dry academic task into a social experiment. When you're having fun, you aren't spending time, you're living it. Emma, we need to talk about the villains of our story, the time thieves. Alex, what is the biggest thief in your life right now?
It's the infinite scroll, Emma. Apps are literally designed by neuroscientists to keep us addicted. They have no end point. A book has a chapter end. A movie has credits. But social media just keeps going. I read a study that said the pull to refresh mechanism on apps is modeled after slot machines in casinos. It's gambling with our attention.
It really is. So my tip here is friction. If you want to stop a bad habit, add friction. I moved my social media apps to the very last page of my phone, inside a folder labeled boredom. Just that extra 2 seconds of searching makes me stop and think, do I actually want to do this?
My friction is the out of sight rule. When I'm working or studying, my phone goes into a drawer in another room. If I have to physically stand up and walk to another room to check a notification, I usually don't bother.
That's a protective boundary. You're not being mean to yourself. You're protecting your peace. Now, this might sound confusing, but our final tip is rest is an investment, not a waste.
This is so important. In our world, we are taught that if we aren't doing, we are wasting. But that's like saying a car is wasting time when it's at a gas station. Exactly. I used to feel so guilty for taking naps or sitting in the garden doing nothing. I thought I could be learning verbs right now. But then I realized that because I was so tired, I was taking 4 hours to do a 1-hour task. There's a concept in economics called the law of diminishing.
Before we wrap up, let's look at some of the power words we use today. These are great for your vocabulary bank.
Let's do it.
First, intentional. Alex, this means doing things with a clear purpose. You aren't just drifting through your day. You are the captain of the ship. Example, I am being intentional about my rest today. Next, vague. This means not clear or blurry. Example, his plan to travel was too vague, so he never booked a flight. What about friction? In physics, it's resistance. In productivity, it's making a bad habit harder to do. Example, I added friction to my phone habit by using a long password. And ROI, return on investment? It's a business term, but it applies to life. What are you getting back for the time you give? Example, learning English has a high ROI for my career. Finally, diminishing returns. That's the point where doing more of something actually gives you less benefit. Example, after 10 cups of coffee, I hit diminishing returns. I was just shaky, not focused. Let's put this all together. Imagine a listener named Ryan. Ryan works 9 to 5, feels exhausted, and thinks he has no time for his dream of writing a blog.
Okay, let's fix Ryan's day. Step 1. Ryan sets a nano goal. Instead of writing a blog, his goal is Write 3 sentences. Step 2, he uses pocket time. On his bus ride home, instead of playing a game on his phone, he types those 3 sentences into his Notes app. Step 3, he adds friction. He deletes the game that steals his time on the bus. Step 4, he treats rest as investment. He goes to bed 30 minutes earlier so he wakes up with a clear head.
In 1 week, Ryan has a completed blog post. He didn't quit his job. He didn't stop seeing his friends. He just stopped the leaks.
It's about the 1% rule. If you get 1% better every day, you are 37 times better by the end of a year. That is the power of not wasting time.
Why do we procrastinate, Alex? Why do we choose the time thief even when we know it makes us unhappy?
Usually, it's fear. Procrastination isn't about being lazy. It's about emotion regulation. We feel anxious about a task. Maybe we're afraid we won't be good at English, or we're afraid the work project will be too hard. So our brain looks for a safety valve. The phone is a safety valve. It's easy. It's numb.
So when we waste time, we're actually hiding?
Often, yes. That's why being kind to yourself is tip number 6. If you have a sand day where you waste 4 hours, don't beat yourself up. If you call yourself lazy, you'll feel more anxious, and you'll waste more time tomorrow to hide from that feeling. Just say, okay, I had a leak today. Tomorrow, I'll be more intentional.
That is so liberating. You are your own coach, not your own judge.
We've covered a lot today. We talked about GPS goals, pocket time, gamifying your life, fighting time thieves, and the necessity of rest.
So, listeners, here is your Growth Lab challenge for the week. Pick one pocket of time in your day, just 10 minutes, and decide right now what you will do with it. Will you listen to a song in English? Will you do 3 push-ups? Will you sit in silence and breathe? Whatever it is, make it intentional. Don't let the day happen to you. You happen to the day. Thank you for spending this hour with us. You didn't waste it. You invested it in your growth. We are so proud of the progress you're making, one tiny step at a time. Remember, your time is your life. Spend it on things that make you feel alive. Until next